Hello everyone. In this video I will be going over the Huntress and the Beast build and why the skills I have selected will be in the build and why some that are not selected won't be in the build. This is just to clarify what the build is about and give it more of a better tutorial about the build, since my write-up may leave some things out that I've always wanted to write about but never really had time to do. So the first thing we're going to look at is the ordered chaos tree. Of course, we're going to take anarchy because, not to take anarchy would be a little bit flippant if you're going to be playing gauge. I mean, I understand people who are like, oh, accuracy loss, okay, accuracy loss. I'm like, I really don't see that argument within the first 100 stacks. I can understand people feeling that they don't like anarchy. That's I guess that is a choice. But to be honest with you, on a computer, I don't see the argument. I mean, maybe on a console with the controllers, I can understand that. You need to have that fine tuning for when you're using your little control sticks. I understand that. But on a computer and a mouse, you get much finer accuracy than just your thumb movement. You get a whole hand, things like that. Um, Small, lighter, faster. Definitely worthwhile getting. The mod I'm using will boost it, of course, from not 4 to all the way up to 9. You can max out at 10, but 5 is pretty good for what we're doing. Will help greatly with slow loading weapons such as rocket launchers, as well as many other things, but mostly this is meant for rocket launchers to reload. So when you're in fight for your life mode, this can be handy. Magazine size, I know there's a decrease, but I mean, when we look at it, I mean, let's go ahead and round out the numbers. Let's say it was a minus 10%. I mean, a tenth of a clip. If your clip is like 30 bullets, and that means 3 bullets you can sacrifice for this. Definitely worthwhile doing. Same thing for clips of 60 bullets. You can sacrifice 6 for that. It's very easy. Be honest with you, you're not missing a lot of clip. It just seems 10% may seem a little overwhelming, but it's not. Uh, Other than that, we have pre-shrunk cyberpunk. Now this is a skill that's kind of like a player's preference. Personally, 200 anarchy is plenty for me. I don't need to go above that, but I do like to be above 150. So I went ahead and, for me, put a point into it. This is optional. Definitely can stuff that point elsewhere, or you can put more into it if you see fit. But pre-shrunk cyberpunk again is a player preference, unless you're going for the 600 anarchy stack build, which will need Slayer Terramorphous mod, and of course 5 pre-shrunk cyberpunk, which you can actually steal from the other skills and the other tree. Robot Rampage, this ability right here was what makes DT so wonderful. Once you give him the Height of Terramorphous Shield, and of course sharing is caring. This skill here alone makes DT a indestructible killing machine versus just about everything in the game, except for bosses. Which, when you think about the game as a whole, unless you're constantly boss hunting, I mean, this skill is pretty much very practical, or more than practical, for everyday use for DT. Blood-soaked shields. These right here, this right here is basically in my opinion, the best shield regen in the game. I wouldn't even bother with fancy mathematics or buck up once you have this at 5/5. Pretty much, if as long as you got something to kill, your shields will be up. I really don't see buck up and fancy mathematics or even unstoppable force doing as well as BSS blood soak shield. This is all you'll ever really need. Just max it out. That's all you'll ever really need. Type class or Chrono class, I have a few points in there. Of course, again, is by choice, as some people would agree with me. It's not all that great, but I'll be honest with you, this does help for those people who like to actually use a Discord recycle, which basically gives you 25 stacks. You discord that, and anything you kill, it gives you an extra, for every 12% chance of doing that. And I wish I could put more points in that, but I'd like to max that out if I could, get my stacks up higher, as well as keep Discord running a bit longer. But it's in there for pretty much, I think it's a good skill to have at least 1 or 2 points in. Discord, of course, does two things. First, primarily, it's going to be in case you accidentally reload or anything like that. You pretty much can save yourself from losing all your stacks, or if you need to regain some health rather quickly, or accuracy loss, or accuracy gain. Does help quite a bit if you're sniping. If you're up at high stack and you want to lower your stacks and gain a little bit of a accuracy boost, definitely worthwhile having. Rational Anarchist. I can't say enough, to be honest with you, about this skill, how good it is to get you started right off into the game. I think if you're going to be doing Ordered Chaos at all, this is one of those must-have skills aside from Anarchy and Discord. This is definitely a must-have skill in this tree. Be honest with you, without this skill, you're going to be taking a long time to do much damage early on, and it's also part of Discord recycling, which I personally don't do, but I wanted to leave that option open for those people who actually have liked H-Rosation's Plasma Anarchist or Chaos Theory. Definitely worthwhile having. I'm going to be saying why I didn't choose Annoyed Android, Death from Above, the Nth Degree, and with Claws. Okay, so Annoyed Android, that's great for DT, but be honest with you, he moves quick enough to where he can catch up with most things in the game. Not really a necessary skill, so I left that one out. Besides, at 7%, when you max it out, you get 35% more movement. It takes, and then by that time it becomes worthwhile, but it takes 5 points, which can be better spent elsewhere, I think, in my opinion, so I'm not going to do that. Death from Above, some people say it's glitchy, some people say it works. I'm of the opinion of it's terribly designed. I think they need to fix it to make it worthwhile. What it does, basically provide an explosion close to that of Shock and Awe, but you put more ranks into it, it does a bit more than Shock and Awe, but to be honest with you, it's not that great. If, say, you're in the midst of battle, you get hit by a grenade and you're firing, there goes some stacks. I mean, you don't want to lose that. Stacks are what make you strong, so this is not really one of those skills I would worthwhile use in a build like the one I'm using now. The Nth Degree, I know a lot of people have been saying that this is a great skill to have when you're swarmed by a lot of mobs, and yes, it is a great skill when you're swarmed by a lot of mobs, but the amount of mobs you really need to make this actually that much useful, you're going to need at least 5 or 4 or 5 more on the screen at almost all times to make this really useful. When you're up against 1 or 2, it just kind of falls flat in its face, which I didn't really do because I felt that going down this tree I could do better in another tree around this level, so I decided to leave that out. With Claws, that's an excellent skill if you're going to be going melee gauge. You're going melee gauge, of course, you get with Claws. With Claws is an excellent skill to have, but it only really works when your enemy is right in front of you, and this build is made so that there's no enemy standing in front of you at any given time. You kill them before they even get within like 10 feet of you, and if they do, you're not pretty much playing the game as expected. You're supposed to be getting them before they get to you. If for any reason that happens, they're pretty much that strong. I can understand. I just think you could probably do better going down BFF damage wise, constantly doing with sharing and carrying. That's the reason why I didn't finish off this tree. I don't think I'll ever will use those skills at all that I'm not using now. So I just kind of left those in the dumpster. Alright, so over here we have, of course, Close Enough, Cooking Up Trouble. Okay, let's talk about Close Enough. This is definitely, without saying, the best complementary skill to Anarchy. If you're going to be using any kind of Anarchy build, you definitely want to use Close Enough. Definitely worthwhile getting in those extra shots you may have missed, at least for whatever damage you might have, which is, at this point, 50%. I wish there were mods that would, enhance this, but I can see why they wouldn't, just for the fairness of that would make Anarchy really overpowered if you had 100% ricochet chance and at 100% damage, which is, will be retardedly stupid for this character. Be way overpowered. So I can understand why leaving it at 5/5 makes it kind of pitch perfect. Cooking Up Trouble, I ended up putting at 1 point in this because there are mods I use that would enhance this, and I would believe a lot of mods use Cooking Up Trouble as part of their skill base that they can pick to enhance. So definitely want to leave 1 point in there, so that way if we ever use a mod like the one I'm using now, we'll give you a 2.4% or more if you get the one that gives you +6 to stack on with Discord. And I'll tell you the double side of that effect is that when you reload and you fire off Discord, you not only gain 3%, you also gain plus 2.4%, which nearly doubles what Discord gives you for regen. Together they're just an awesome duo for health regeneration, and the reason you'd like that is because it's probably percentage, and we're going to be maxing out our percentage with the other skills here in a moment. I'll tell you about those in a sec. the better half. This is probably one of the best skills for getting a rate of fire up with gauge for half a clip. With the mod I'm using, I get 120%. Of course, you could do more with a 11 out of 5 with a +6 skill. Um, Definitely worthwhile having all the way maxed out, just so that way you get your mortar damage. I can't tell you how much crazy damage you put out when you hit that half a clip at 200 anarchy. It's just insane amount of damage. I've seen that in other videos, so definitely worthwhile getting maxed out. Next one we want to do is Upshot Robot. Definitely worthwhile keeping, because once you have Sharing is Caring with Terramorpho's Shield, and you have things like Explosive Clap and Robot Rampage, it pretty much will just pay off in itself. You'll see DT get up stacks of 26 to 100, and he just becomes beast with this, and he keeps staying out. Now, that shield just keeps him from getting killed, because by the time things are beating on him, pretty much the higher Thermorpher shield will fight back for him, as well as give him a huge boost in melee. And we are all about getting as much damage out as possible, and we're going to include DT on part of that equation. So we want to get as much damage in with DT. If I could, I would definitely get Strength of the 5 Gorillas, but as we are filling up our trees, we won't have any room for a little big trouble, so I left that out. Potent as a pony is more over for Death Trap than it is for you, because Death Trap does need the extra health. As he does have a huge amount of health in order the numbers don't show up on him, but he has a huge amount. That 10% is actually pretty good, decent chunk with the amount he has. It also helps you as well, again, with the max health. Again, Cooking Up Trouble and Discord will be relying on your percentages, so pretty much when you use them both in combination, you get huge gains as you're moving on. Even though your bar doesn't move as much, you're getting more per second of health because of that maxed out health bar you get from this and another skill. Explosive Clap, that skill in itself was just basically Giblet a la mode. That's awesome to give him something else to use besides Robot Rampage, and it just makes him really destructive. Good AoE effects, probably one of the best DT buffs you can give him besides Robot Rampage and Upshot Robot, so I definitely had to have that. It's only 1 point, and boy does it work. It goes to town. Made of Stunner stuff, definitely, again, another thing for more for Death Trap. He will get a slight damage reduction boost, which when you compound it with the extra health he gets, it just makes him even more beastly. I found that with this setup, he can even take out super badasses in 4-player mode on his own. Now that being said, that means damn, DT goes to town when he's out and about. So definitely worthwhile having that. Of course, 20% cooler without Death Trap. Being on cooldown, that definitely hampers your possible damage per second as a whole. So we want to try and max that out as possible. As you can see here, I'm using the mod that legendary Necromancer mod that's going to keep him coming back quicker, sooner, better. Definitely want that out. And of course, Sharing is Caring, and that's what caps out this build pretty much, because that Height of Terror mod and Legendary Necromancer mod. As you can see here, that Legendary Necromancer mod, 3 of those 6 skills are stuck in this tree. This is worthwhile using the Legendary Necromancer mod. This makes DT not worthless. This makes DT your best damage buddy, and this is what the whole build is about. He's the beast, and you're the Huntress. You let him loose while you do your thing too as well. That's what the whole point of this build is, just to maximize damage across the board. Now, why I didn't use Fancy Mathematics or Buck Up, I believe Blood-Soaked Shields, I've already covered that, why we don't use these two. These are basically a waste when you have Blood-Soaked Shields, and DT needs to be out there killing people, not there trying to heal you up, because you neglected to get Blood-Soaked Shields. Unstoppable Force, again, movement speed and shield regeneration are nice, but we've already got shield regeneration covered with Blood-Soaked Shields. And of course, we really don't need much more movement speed, as basically we move pretty fast as it is. I can understand if you're one of those type of people who like to, run around the field all day and do the shotgun, then that's great. Get a shotgun. There's plenty of shotgun builds I've seen that utilize the skill very nicely, but this is not one of them, so I left that out. what we're not going to be doing is the LBT tree for now until we get a level cap increase or a way to up these levels. We're not sure how that's going to happen. It's not really any word out on how they're going to do it. Apparently, uh, the only clue we have is that they're going to have it done in a unique manner, uh, what Gearbox has been saying, and we're not sure if that means you level, but you basically you don't really level. You buy points, or you do level. We don't know what that is yet. What's going to happen? So there's no final word on that. So for now, we're just going to leave that blank. And again, another thing about more pep and this whole skill tree here. Let's go ahead and get into more pep. Why I didn't even put a point into which I could have, and still got 6 out of it. A lot of people have been telling me that yeah, it does pump out a lot of plus damage when you have it out, but I don't think they're understanding that when you proc a dot, it's only going to be one dot unless it's another dot that you have, such as fire or electricity or corrosive. So basically, if you're using one, let's say you're using a fire gun, it's only that fire proc is only going to proc once per enemy while it's on. It's not going to stack fire, fire, fire dot. It's not going to have like that. One enemy is going to be flying around with 5 fire dots on them. It's always going to be one dot until that dot runs out. What does that mean? That means like you're constantly firing a gun on them. There's going to be plenty of chances to fire off the burn, electrocute, or corrode status on them. This is kind of this kind of skill would be great if you're doing like a lot of electrical burn, 5 electrical burn, and this. Then yes, that would greatly enhance alongside with evil enchantress. But I mean, you'd be losing out on some other things like Mylin. And be honest with you, you do enough dot procs per second if you're using the right kind of guns, and that's the reason why I never have taken it. I've tried it many times. I have been people many times argue with me. I'm going to say no from personal experience, and that's a lot of testing done, guys. I would say this is one of those skills. It needs to be really enhanced, or you need to use a gun like a sniper rifle or a rocket launcher to really get the full benefit of this skill. So I mean, be honest with you, unless you're doing Shamfleet, this kind of skill, just not worth doing. A Mylan would be great. I definitely would add it to this build. If it was me, I definitely would add probably a point to more pep, Mylan full out, Strength of 5 Gorillas full out, and Shockstorm full out if I could. Because, well, first of all, we're sniping a lot of times on this build. Not a main focus anymore, but I mean, it is nice to have. I will be doing another video soon, and we'll be showcasing my playstyle. But for now, we're going to also go ahead and look at the weapons of choice and why, and shields and things like that. Alright, so of course, I normally have either my Gentleman's Pimpernel or my Hawkeye in this slot, but today I've been doing more testing, and I found that Gentleman's Pimpernel does really well when you have the Slag variant, especially when you have DT out there. Very fun gun to use, even when you're not depending on DT. Very fun gun to use because you can slag them when they come up to you. You can use another rifle. Again, or use another gun. I mean, again, you really want to pay attention to what zone you're going to, and that should dictate really what you're going to wear out for the zone. All right. So the zone I'm in, well, is going to be mostly fleshies and, of course, no, I'm sorry, mostly armored robots and fleshies. And what this means is that you really want your main weapon of damage choice to be corrosive, and I have chosen a ferocious hail because in all of my testing, no other gun comes even close to its damage potential, unless you're using some rocket launcher with Shamfleet. I mean, with the Sham. You know what I'm talking about when I say Shamfleet. Of course, for the fleshies, we will be using a practicable conference call, and while it won't have the healing capabilities of the ferocious hail, we will be having 6 out of 5 cooking up trouble, as well as Discord to help us with that. Before we move on to the main event, which will be mostly bots climbing up this hill over here in Thousand Cuts. Again, the rocket launcher is going to be, what I'm going to use is going to be Corrode rocket launcher, and I decided that your last slot should definitely be a rocket launcher that does the most damage, and this is one of those guns. Definitely worthwhile getting. So basically, just this should be a rocket launcher should be the type, elemental type where you think you're going to be fighting most of it. And again, this zone I'm going to be fighting mostly robots after the first quarter of this zone. Alkaline Hide of Terramorphous. This was actually given to me in a trade. Probably one of the most powerful Terramorphous shields I've ever seen. It's got a huge Nova damage, rivals nearly my black hole. It's got really nice Roid damage. I mean, look at that, plus 55,000. I mean, DT is gonna just shred with that. It's got a good capacity. It's almost 3K. Well, other than that, I mean, it just does a lot, and it also shields me from crow damage. So this is a great peat shield as well if you ever wanted to go that far, or one of those things that definitely takes care of the corrosive, corrosive stuff I thrown at you. The legendary Macro Monster mod, definitely I think out of all the mods I've had, this is probably the best. I used to run around with Jill of all Trades mod, but I mean the damage is nice, the gun damage is nice, but I found that these skills combined really lend more to what I'm doing with this build than the Jill of all Trades mod. So I mean, if I'm really wanting to make it all about me, I definitely could throw in the Jill of all Trades mod and make it all about me. Definitely got the OC tree backing me on that. The longbow pandemic. For right now, I think I will use a longbow fire bee and a fire relic. The relics you should definitely have at least one of all three elements, and of course a sheriff's badge, and of course a sniper rifle damage relic if you think you're gonna go all full snipe. Where you'd find a place to do full snipe would be like fighting against Dexy. This is definitely one of those relics you should have on you for that. If you do some boss hunting ever so often, you should definitely keep it on you. So right now I'm just going to use the elemental fire relic, and I'll be changing out my grenade type and also my relic type when I get up the hill towards the robots. I've been really considering dropping the longbow pandemic. I really don't see it do all that much compared to all the other grenades I have at my disposal. I'm thinking about just leaving it with sticky longbow meteor. As you notice, almost all my grenades are longbows, and the reason I like that is because I want them to place them in strategic points where they could be the most use for me, not trying to home in on a enemy that I may be destroying, and then basically have to re-find another enemy, and then it explodes midair, and it loses a lot of damage potential. So definitely like the longbow stuff. Uh, as for as for mods, we could be using things like Slayer of Terramorphous mod, Improved G-Level Traits, Superior Prodigy mod, Stern Roboteer. If you want to know why I have 3 blues and why not purples, is because, be honest with you, where it says assault gun rifle damage and assault magazine size, those are the max stats. Even on a purple, you can't get higher than a 36 and a 40. The only difference between a blue and a purple is the purples include another skill. And usually in all 3 of these, the skill is usually more pip. And again, I'm not using that, so it doesn't make any sense to get a purple mod to have to do that. And I would rather juice up a skill one more point that it's focusing on, such as, well, of course, better half for most of this stuff. Mater Stern stuff, of course, because, well, out of Potent as a Pony and Mater Stern stuff, I've chose Mater Stern stuff to serve me better. So those are the other mods you could be using if you don't want to use or if you don't have access to a Slayer of Terramorphous class mod or legendary mod. So again, you really want to have a good mixture of weapons. You should never have 2 weapons of the same type unless you're a sniper like Zero and need to have different variants of a sniper rifle. But as a gauge player, you're definitely going to be more in their face than sniping. And this is, again, the sniper rifle is just for fun. But if you really wanted to, you could definitely put in, say, an SMG in that top slot, and then do SMG, AR, shotgun, and of course a rocket launcher, and be very happy. But that was the whole point of this build. I will be putting in a video to show some playstyle in a little bit. Definitely be a part 2 to this, so see you there.